Hello, everyone. So this is the last presentation for today. It's also my first time showcasing in one of these calls after joining as a contributor to Lido and then Node Operator Mechanisms. And we're going to spend this time talking about auxiliary proposer mechanisms. Now, I'm pretty confident that the majority of the audience probably hasn't heard much about this or even heard this term before. The thing is that a group of contributors has developed this framework by engaging with a lot of the research and development teams that are developing new infrastructure for Ethereum, and as well as to support all the emerging tools that are popping up in the validator landscape. And today we want to do a basic introduction, hopefully not a lot of content, but a lot of context for the community about this framework, and to talk a little bit about why now, why we needed to develop this, and our proposal going forward for engaging with these protocols. Let's get into it. And my name is Gabriella, and here we go. So Lido DAO and the contributors have been engaging with advanced protocol and advanced proposal activities on Ethereum since the merge, if we count MEV Boost, which is part of the framework, but much more actively since last year when we introduced the purge proposal. This was basically just a way for protocols and projects that are seeking participation from node operators that use the Lido protocol to request coordination for testing and evaluation to include them in mainnet. One of the things that we noticed in the last year and year and a half was just the level of acceleration and the expansion of validator duties and the potential to just augment and improve various aspects of block production, things like efficiency, user experience, networking, even the potential for cross-chain or cross-layer communication without fundamentally altering Ethereum's consensus rules. So we saw, for example, the boom with pre-confirmations and now native rollups, as well as some positive movement towards the adoption of these by big node operators and members of our curated set. So why now? As we can see, Ethereum's block proposal landscape has definitely undergone very significant transformation over these years. And from that came the motivation for us to also accelerate how we are thinking, how we are considering and interacting with all the new developments. Now, while these changes create new opportunities, they also introduce some challenges and new incentives into the protocol. So for Ethereum, well, we have seen that the need for them to, or for the protocol to very rapidly evolve just to keep up with the demand and all the latest innovations, while also trying to maintain the right incentives for node operators. For validators, we have seen we have to keep up with them, with all the innovations as well, but also balance decentralization, efficiency, and also how profitable their operations are, especially for smaller node operators, are definitely thinking about this. And even for large size staking protocols like Lido, any new proposer side infrastructure can only be introduced just very carefully. On one side, if we're open this up for everyone and we make it like a very overly permissive system, it risks a lot of market fragmentation, which benefits not Lido, not the stakers, not the users, not Ethereum. And additionally, because of the significant value that is in Lido's node operator set, if these sidecars also introduce new incentives, the protocol must also ensure it captures some of the value to maintain just their own sustainability of the protocol. And yes, for these reasons, APMs must be carefully evaluated just to protect all the value and preserve a high quality proposer ecosystem, which we're trying to build here, the best node operator ecosystem. So APMs provide an approach to help market participants navigate these trade-offs. So we get into APMs. APMs can be thought of as a framework for understanding and reasoning about all the mechanisms that are available to block proposers that basically enhance the block proposal functionality. And as we see in screen, at the core of the framework, there are three main components, which are the mechanisms, the protocols, and the sidecars. So this is going to be a little bit of content. I'm going to give some examples later, but basically a mechanism is a distinct objective that is paired with a method and is designed to achieve an objective that is within Ethereum block proposal process. They basically outline what is possible, what is the objective, and how it can be achieved, but they do not prescribe any single implementation of way of achieving that goal. Basically, it is used to inform the designs that can come up from the mechanism. Then we have things like protocols, and protocols are already the structure specification of one mechanism, and they define basically all the rules or the configurations, etc., on how any particular mechanism can operate within the Ethereum ecosystem. They can actually be things that happen in protocol, out of protocol. They can be a mix of those. And finally, we have the sidecars, and these are the most well-known part, maybe, but they are the services of the software that basically is designed to support a protocol or the functionality of a protocol or many protocols, and essentially implement parts of this protocol to allow the participants to interact with each other. Block proposal sidecars operate alongside the validators to perform the tasks. And in order to understand how the general components interact with each other, we can see it in a graph like this. Any single mechanism can actually be implemented by multiple protocols, which can also rely on like a different number of sidecars. This generally is like a one-to-many relationship, where one mechanism can have many protocols. Each protocol can be enabled by multiple sidecars, and even sidecars can support multiple protocols. That's basically a vision of it, but I think it's easier if we see it with an example. So one of the most well-known examples of what could be an APM is used all the time for MEV extraction, and it's called PBS. So in the default Ethereum configuration, block proposals build blocks locally, and they base this just on the local view they have on the mempool. However, with the introduction of PBS, this separates the task of building and proposing the blocks into two different block roles that happen. And this can be implemented in a myriad of ways. The most widely recognized implementation of PBS is MEV Boost. MEV Boost is both a protocol and a sidecar, which can be a little bit confusing. But as a protocol, MEV Boost defines what is an out-of-protocol specification of PBS, meaning that the interactions between the block builders, the proposers, the relays all happen outside the Ethereum's core protocol. While as a sidecar, MEV Boost provides the client-side software that block proposals run to participate in the MEV Boost protocols. And builders, relays, proposers, all of them use different client software to interact with the protocol. However, there are other sidecars that implement MEV Boost, for example, Commit Boost. And as a counterexample, in the previous slide, we saw that there are other in-protocol implementations of PBS that are directly tied to consensus clients. So we can see that APMs don't necessarily rely on third-party software, but a lot of times they might. So that was basically an explanation of what we're trying to use here. Finally, we also want to quickly go over the proposed vetting of these APMs from the Lido protocol and how we're trying to think about it. Now, considering all those motivations that we mentioned before, we wanted to talk about steps that are a prerequisite and also there's next steps after that. I'm not going to expand on this right now a lot, and I will link the introduction form post later, just if you want to take a further look. I just want to highlight a couple things in here. Basically, before the formal DAO considerations, APMs must have measures of performance, security, documentation, but also importantly, they need to establish a very transparent incentive distribution path. Basically, if their plan is to have such incentives, which is a big part of the consideration that we are going to have for APMs. Then basically we go into the testing and community engagement phase, and we're still maintaining the purge proposal that we have been using with some testnet trials with a certain number of keys, and also reviewed by community members and also contributors. And also we want to highlight that we are in the process of actually submitting or voting for the creation of a new APM committee that will oversee basically the APM mainnet allowed list to the DAO. So on this, we're going to have more information soon. Basically what this the mandate is going to be, and also which community members are going to take part of this. And also with that discussion will be live soon. And basically one last caveat has to do with the block proposals rewards policy. And yeah, a couple comments on this. Basically the policy must evolve to basically define the expectations for APM integrated node operators, and also ensuring transparency between the proposer strategies that are allowed. So one next step, or the big next step that we're going to have here, is that Lido DAO contributors are currently preparing a proposal for these updates that we are hopeful is going to be also in the forums very soon to enable these APMs to actually be used in mainnet. So far, this has not been allowed by the current policy. And this is just a list of the current protocols, all the protocols that we are engaging with at the moment, and the ones that have talked to us. But yeah, we also have on the next slide the forum post linked and with a QR code, so you can actually go and just get a lot more information about this framework that we're gonna propose and that we're gonna use to start evaluating and thinking about all these new protocols. And I just basically want to do a brief conclusion. This ecosystem is expanding, we're evolving, and Lido is also trying to evolve to adapt these new things very responsibly. And we think APM provide a very structured way to evaluate and integrate these things, but we actually need you. We need the community's input to refine and also improve on this framework. So I think some call to actions, how to contribute. You can join the discussion in the Lido research forum, the QR code that was before, and also help review and test new APMs, and also share feedback, suggestions. All of that will be very appreciated. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Really, really great presentation, Gabriella. Thank you for presenting that kind of like taxonomy, I guess, or even like an ontology about how to think of these things that to a certain extent have kind of like been disparate and disconnected in the past. But you've like found a common thread through all of them, and some way for the protocol and the community around the protocol to reason about the stuff holistically. Maybe just to kind of like quickly hammer on the call to actions at the end. I guess if we identify like 3 main actors involved in this system, and I can go through one by one, like what is the call to action? So let's say that you're a node operator that is interested in participating in testnets. What should they do?
Well, they should first identify the different purchases that we have open. All the teams that are asking for node operators to test and express their interest in participating in those, and we'll get in contact and organize all that.
Awesome. And what if you are a protocol in the sense of like a protocol within APM or a sidecar developer?
Yeah, in that case, get in touch with us, or we'll help you set up an introduction in the forum. You'll need to post that, and also you'll need to set up your purge proposal and post that on the forum as well, so node operators can be in contact.
All right. And if you're interested in somehow participating in the community vetting process, either just kind of like providing feedback around like the usage of this framework and maybe assessing some of these solutions, or applying to be on the APM committee, what should you do?
Yes, all the fun is happening in the forums, and that will be in the forum post where we introduce the APM system. That's where you can also express all your feedback, and we'll give more information there about the committee.
All right. All the fun is happening on the forums. All right.